Hey guys, how you doing? Uncle Bob here once again with another video, and today is episode 4 of my horror hangouts special Halloween 2024 series that I'm doing. So the horror hangouts with Uncle Bob series, and yeah, I've decided to do over Halloween for you guys. And today's episode 4. I'm going to be doing, starting on the Hellraiser franchise, the next franchise in my horror annual marathon that I do every year. Watch all the horror franchises, or at least the ones I have in my collection. And yeah, so now it's the beginning of Hellraiser. So yeah, so the first episode, fourth episode is going to feature Hellraiser first 4 films. So obviously start off with the first. Well, this is the box set of the first 3 films in the Hellraiser franchise. So 1 to 3, and then sort of like loads of extras on the DVD. So let's talk about the first one. So that's where it all kicks off and all starts in the first Hellraiser, which is like probably the most iconic and maybe recognisable. That's where it all starts off. Obviously, one person buys this puzzle box off of someone, and then that's all. That's all where it all starts off. And then he opens the box, and then ends up and he's sold takeaway and getting killed, and obviously ended up, trapped, getting killed and getting trapped within the box. Trying to open it. So obviously the first one, it's the most recognisable, and it's mostly about the character Frank that obviously gets killed, and then he has to get obviously the female lead character in the first film. Can't think of her name, but she has to kill, or she has to lure people to where Frank is at the house, and then she has to lure them for him to kill them. And then as he kills them, he gets stronger and starts becoming more human-like the more kills he does, and that makes him, gives him more energy, and I think as the more carry on killing, he becomes more human-like, and she just lures him, and he just keeps killing them. Friends make him stronger, and then eventually Pinhead always shows up, and then all chaos escalates, and but I'd say it's more about actually Frank rather than actual Pinhead character itself. It's more, about his story, doing the killings and stuff. And the way, Pinhead, doesn't really come into it till sort of more or less the end. But yeah, it's still a pretty classic one. I think it's pretty good. Now we're going to the second one, Hellraiser 2 Hellbound. Now, this is actually, I'd say, probably maybe one of the best horror sequels. It's a pretty good sequel. This time, woman who is you know, trying to get Frank back to life in the first one. Now she obviously got killed in the first one, and now she's the one that's trying to. She ends up talking to this. She's a doctor or somebody who works in the sort of psychiatric place, and then obviously she comes back to life, and then she gets friendly with him, and then he starts luring people back to where she is, and then obviously she's doing the killing now and trying to get back to being human and getting more energy the more kills she does. So he's luring them back to her, and then it's pretty cool. And there's some bright kills. It's pretty good. And then, but again, Pinhead doesn't show up until a bit later, but you see him briefly now and again. It's quite good when there's stuff going on. And then there's a lot of different stuff happening, which is quite good and fun. And this actually eventually sort of because there's a greater power with the main villain, which is actually goes against Pinhead, and he sort of actually comes across as sort of more the sort of almost like the anti-hero as such, rather than the villain, because he sort of he gets him and the other Types get attacked, and then he's almost like the anti-villain, sorry, the anti-hero, and he's not, because he's not really the main villain in the second one. And then so he's sort of more the anti-hero, and he's guy that you sort of almost rooting for to win. And then and then he ends up getting killed with the other Types, and then he goes back to human, and you see sort of Pinhead's story in a way, and this is quite a good thing. And then you find out about Pinhead's story and how he actually became Pinhead, because he only once was human, and you see how he became human, and a bit about his backstory, and when he was like, see his backstory when he was like actually fought in the war and he was a soldier, and then so it gives you a cool background of how actually the character actually became Pinhead, because he was a human once, and obviously after the events of opening the box, that's actually eventually become Pinhead. And so he goes against it, so you're sort of almost rooting for him to be victorious, but obviously he ends up getting killed in this, unfortunately. But it's good to see I think it's just generally a good sequel, to be honest. It's quite strong, I always enjoy it. Now we're going to the third one, Hellraiser 3 Hell on Earth. Now this is, actually I think this is, now this might not probably be maybe, well at least I don't think it's probably as popular as the first two, but I actually quite like it, and I think this is, it may in some ways be my favourite Hellraiser film in many ways, because it's when you see Pinhead in sort of all his glory almost, and it's actually the first time in in the three films that you see him actually doing any sort of kills, and looking more like an actual horror villain that is doing kills, rather than sort of just coming into it at the end and sort of playing sort of the just just showing up. This is more, the third one is more about actually Pinhead and showing him, you know, in a true villain-esque role of actually doing kills physically, rather than just, you know, showing up at the end and, you know. So yeah, this is a really good way of looking at it. And you see the pillar box, the first time pillar box of souls, which is really good. That's quite been quite an iconic movie thing now, you know. And yeah, you just see him doing kills. It's really good at the end. Where the Zenny types are doing some kills. And there's some good scenes, like the club scenes where he's doing kills. And yeah, I think the scene is good at the end, and it's just a really good start. You know, it just shows Pinhead in just all his glory and just how brutal he can be, and just, yeah, it just shows him, I think, at his best. To be honest, I quite like it, to be honest. Yeah, I think it's quite good. I always enjoy it. So that's the first three. Now the fourth one in that in the Hellraiser franchise is the fourth one, which is Hellraiser Bloodlines. Or Bloodline, not Bloodlines, Bloodline. And this one is sort of more or less, or at least a bit of it, sort of in space. And yeah, it's quite sort of more or less maybe a sci-fi sort of take on it. Yeah, and some of it is set. Some of it's set on Earth, and then some of it's set in space. But yeah, it's got a very sort of sci-fi horror feel to it, sort of like sort of Hellraiser in space. And I must admit, it's all right. Now, obviously, it's not as good as the first three, but it's all right. It's as I said, it's more sci-fi sort of space, sci-fi horror-esque. I mean, there's a few good kills here and there. The storyline's all right, but not as strong. I think there's probably been better, not just before but after. But I think in general, it's all right. Continuing, you know, the saga, and it's all right, yeah. But yeah, guys, that is it. So that's the first four in the Hellraiser franchise. And that's it for this episode. So join me in the next episode when we'll be looking at the next 4 films in the Hellraiser franchise. So guys, hope you guys enjoyed this video. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel. I'll see you in episode 5.